You can.
Are you on a
The
boat?
other, I'm on a boat. On the other side of the marina, there's a couple of young ones who are hammering away at some rust. So
Nice.
it's, this recording will have some rust removal hammering in the background.
So the boat is a friend's? Is yours? Are you sharing it with somebody right now?
Those those legs belong to the guy who owns the boat. There he is. Hey, Michael, this is Sam.
Hey,
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 nice to, nice to meet you.
Michael was raised in California, Hong Kong. Also spent the last period in Australia, and he's got a little property in Andros, and we met on Andros, and yeah, we're in this marina waiting for the weather to be easy and calm, so we can set off and head down through Netherlands, then down through Belgium, and then into France, and then I will leave at Lyon, um, and head east to Switzerland and Austria, and then back to Athens, and then hopefully, if COVID is a bit calmer in Spain, because Spain, Catalonia is shut down again for COVID already.
It's gotten worse, right?
Hopefully, hopefully I can get back into Spain to see my son.
Actually, you said Andros was one of the safest places to be, right?
Yeah, there's no COVID there at all.
Yeah. So it might be a good idea to go there. So good
Well, I'll
thought.
get there eventually. I mean, this journey is. I mean, the north of Holland is nothing here. Belgium's pretty fine. France is okay apparently, and then Austria, Switzerland are fine. Great places. Yeah, well, Athens in Greece has just opened up again to tourism, so we don't know what will happen there. But everything is, day by day.
Yeah.
How's it, Seattle?
Well, check the weather this morning. It's 47 degrees Fahrenheit, which is like 8 or 9 degrees centigrade. So
Wow,
quite balmy, quite cool. But inside here, it's 68 Fahrenheit, perfect. So
nice,
I got the dogs, I got the cat, my daughter's sleeping, so I just let the dogs out. Everything's all pretty cool right now. So
excellent.
things been going well at work. Things been going well at the GCC actually. Thanks for showing up last week.
Yeah, that was good fun. That was. It's
Well,
always it's always funny seeing Heiner and Doug doing his thing, and yeah,
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Doug and I went much deeper after you left, so hopefully we've come to an understanding. So
You and Doug.
yeah,
Okay. Can you summarize that understanding?
yes. Doug gets triggered by the word agreement. So I think of
Ah, okay.
agreement as enabling, empowering, common understanding, giving us a basis on which to make further agreements or decisions or actions. And Doug, very much the lawyer in him, sees agreements as punitive, as restrictive, as, uh, cutting off personal freedom. He has a very negative trigger on this word agreement. So
Okay.
every time I try to propose something, he says, "Oh, well, I don't agree to that," or "We don't have to agree to that." So that's been for 3 years, and so I've been consistently trying to get deeper and deeper and deeper into this. So we might have actually gotten pretty far at this
So
time.
is it a word that he prefers?
Mutual understanding, I think, might be, but it's longer. I agree that mutual understanding is part of agreement. There's also a possibility that we use the word arrangement, but I would just prefer that since most people understand the word agreement, that we eliminate the trigger. So that's what I would prefer.
Yeah, it's interesting because I'm currently in a sort of consistent misunderstanding with one guy in the States. You probably know him. I won't name him because we're recording. But he is. It's always basically it's clear to me he has very different values to me. So because our values are not aligned, because he clearly has a different perception of, I kind of think anyone doesn't want a better world. But for him, me not being with my son is abandoning him, and therefore I'm a bad father, and therefore he will not support anything I say or do, because at root I'm going against one of his core values, which is not being with my son who's 6 years old. Therefore, he will consistently argue with me that anything I say and do is wrong because of that root value that he has. Therefore, there's no communication. I cannot communicate with a guy like that. And he will continue to push me until I align with his values. So then I will support you as long as you value the way I look at
You're
the
not going
world.
to believe that unless your son is within 30 feet of you, right?
Exactly. So what does that mean then? You said I've abandoned, meaning what? I'm not abandoned in my heart. I've talked to him regularly. I see him. What do you mean abandoned? So it's the same way his mother says. His mother's the same thing. And many Spanish people don't support me or see because they value family before anything. Therefore, if I am not with my son, therefore there's clearly something wrong with me, and therefore they won't support anything I say or do. Whereas those who value freedom and sense of purpose and following your own heart, your own journey, no matter where it takes you, they're massively in support. But usually they're the ones who don't really have any money. So it's this combination of having to look at my own feelings about that and not relate to people like that. And also, as I've said recently, so many people are in socioeconomic trauma. The whole Greek nation seems to be in social economic trauma. Therefore, it's very difficult to collaborate with people who are in that state.
Half the United States is the same state now. Half.
Exactly. So how do you collaborate with people and make agreements with people who are really in pain and struggling to survive, and basically everyone's manipulating everybody else for attention and saying, no, you've got to support me because I'm going to make it, and no, we have to support this before because of that. So it becomes, people, as you say, it's one of the smart people problems. Everyone's so focused on his or own survival that to actually drop anything and say, okay, what can we agree on that will benefit both of us and everybody else? It becomes very complex.
You know, it's interesting. Last Sunday, I don't know if you were around, but I mentioned that there's a set of corresponding or complementary problems I call dumb people problems.
All right, okay.
And these are common sense, obvious errors in logic, errors in assumptions, or missed assumptions. So typical things you would find just at the root of bad thinking. Okay. So I have a list of those as well. And it's curious because eventually I'm going to put the two together. Because, of course, everybody thinks they're a smart person, right? Nobody
Sure.
thinks of themselves as a dumb person. But it's going to be curious when I actually get to that stage of
Well,
evolution.
I certainly don't think I'm a dumb person, but I do dumb things according to certain people's perceptions of what smart is.
Yeah.
So it sounds pretty dumb to choose what I've chosen to do, or maybe what you've chosen to do, and how you live your life. Because according to many people, one should have a proper job and do proper things and look after this and behave like this. Then that's a smart thing to do. It's irresponsible to live in any other way. Whereas those who live through their heart and will follow their dream no matter what, they're viewed as irresponsible, and they think they're the ones that are dumb. If you're living a lie and living a false life just because you can pay your mortgage and all the rest of it. So it's yeah. How do they two actually ever connect and meet and agree on anything when they see the world in different ways? So I don't think it's just values or see it's about perceptions of the world and worldview. If you're what is your worldview? What do you think the world is? What do you think? What are your beliefs? And very few people actually know and are still programmed according to their parents or their cultures, and therefore there's no conversation. I find it very difficult to talk to many North Americans. Not all of them, you're an exception, but most of them just have no. They just project entirely onto what they've been led to believe,
I mean,
and
if
it's
you take a look at
impossible
what's
to.
being reported now, it's even worse. They're only focusing on the extreme actions and this pent up hatred and resentment. And so even the entire country is being depicted in a very bad light right now.
Yeah,
By the way, one of the things that I really appreciated when I was growing up was when I was going to high school not too far away from here. Um, in junior year in high school, which is the next to last year. I don't know if you went to school anywhere that maps to this,
Mm-hmm.
but I was about 14, and normally people graduate high school around 17 or 18. But I was 14 and in my junior year, so I would have graduated right around 16 years old. But I was new to the school, so I signed up for this class called philosophy, which is normally reserved for seniors. So not only was I new in the school, but I was younger than normal, and I was taking a class a year ahead of my regular quote unquote schedule. So I was in there with people 2, 3 years older than me. I was 14, everybody else was like 16 and 17. But I found that the one thing that I really appreciated in that class was during the last month of school, every student in that class got one entire class session. It's about an hour. And the paper was supposed to have been researched for the entire year. And the paper was simply called Credo, which means I believe, of course, you know. And so we were asked to examine, what's important to us, what our values, what do we want to do in life, what's good, what's bad, how do I conduct myself, what's a good life, all these kind of questions that we pick and choose to answer. And I found that was kind of an opening to real thinking because I would say before I was 14, I didn't think I had an original thought ever. Even at 14, I didn't have an original thought. I was just collecting other people's thoughts. So ever since then, it's kind of begun to sort of be this process of, what is a new thought and how do new thoughts occur? And do I actually create any? So that was a very eye-opening experience for me. By the way, if it's distracting, there's a puppy
Not
bark.
at all. I mean, it's quite nice. The dogs barking with the rust hammering. It's a nice symphony.
Because I could go shut him up.
Well, you've got philosophia. The love of wisdom from Greek, and what is that? And for me, I really don't know what I believe until I'm faced with a situation. So um, when I look at what's happening, because I spent like the last few days being very angry about money, and which led to me being very angry about my father, because I learned about money from my parents who always had enough, but were always worried that they didn't have enough. And so we're constantly focused on money to save it and invest it in the house and all other things, and to be perceived to be doing well and not actually enjoying their lives. Whereas I'm doing the opposite. And my sister, who has plenty of money, who won't even give me £5 towards my project because it's a project that follows a path that she does not support that way of living. So she believes, the opposite to me. And this is so there's no communication, there's no relationship, nothing. And um, the anger coming from, that parental, if you behave like this and you do that, then I love you and I'll support you, whatever you say. I say I'm going to love you unconditionally, I'll support anything you do, and it's completely untrue. But they have to say it. They're conditioned to say it because they read the Bible when they were raised in the church. But actual fact, we cannot support you because you don't live according, which is what culture is doing, which is what government does if you behave like this. This is a real issue for this. Hopefully, within the next 5 years, we get universal basic income, which will free enormous amounts of people to do unconditionally whatever they want, and that just releases the creative freedom and creative everything. Then we don't have to spend a lot of our time manipulating each other into give me attention and money so that I can do and live the way I want to live. So even I find that um, I'm doing this crowdfunding. I've got I want to get 10,000 by the end of August. It's my goal. It's my target. It doesn't matter if I achieve it or not. And I remember, like, almost 2 decades ago, I worked with a woman called Kerry Santol. I won't mention her because she's an extraordinary human being. We've met and fell out a lot of times, but she wanted to set up a drop-in centre for the homeless. The rent was 80,000 a year in Edinburgh, and she went on a network like LinkedIn, and she phoned every single person that she could find. I said, "Hi, my name's Kerry. I'm setting up a drop-in centre for the homeless. I'm fed up with society in the way that people are dying because they're not treated well. So, do you have £80? Yes or no?" And she just phoned until she got 80,000 doing that. 1,000 people who learn about the project. Now, many people tried to come in and save her. They wanted to save her. Oh, it's a charity. We have to help you. She goes, fuck off. I want your money, or just go away. Don't try to patronize me. Tell me what should you shouldn't do. Tell me how you should live. Do you have £80? Yes or no? I need to get on to the next person. Don't waste my time. And it was extraordinary. She did that for like 6 months to a year. She became very famous as a networker in the UK. But eventually, all she did was gathered around very angry people. She created an enormous network of very angry people who didn't want to do anything. They just wanted to be angry together. So she had the center, but couldn't get people to collaborate with her because she was so difficult to collaborate with. Because it was her way or nothing. I don't really know what the issue is that we're talking about in terms of values and purpose and mission.
Well, there
And
seems to
people,
be a smart people problem in there.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, Brett's on a call right now, but Brett, is so focused on his thing. He tries to live by the gift. So most of his actions online are, I need help for this and support for that. Can you gift this? Can you gift that? And because of that, he's saying, I need a ghostwriter, someone to help with writing. I said, me. And he says, oh, can you send me proof? I said, Brett, I do nothing but prove my quality of writing. I've got my website, the book I've written. I've been promoting it for 4 months. And he goes, oh, I didn't know that. It seemed to have escaped my mind because he's so focused on his own thing. So it's like people who have time, people who have curiosity. I think curiosity is so important, to be curious. Who is Sam? What does he care about? What is he like? Who are his family? What's he doing right now? Where is he going? How can I support that? How does that align with what I'm doing? That takes time.
Yeah, I was curious because I thought that I had seen a text from Brett saying that he'd like to join us at one of these sessions. And I actually looked a little bit at his profile. So it's fascinating. He mentions Gabor Mate, he's working in a field that's very similar to the one my oldest daughter is working in. Did I describe to you what my oldest daughter is doing?
You didn't know.
She, straight out of University of Washington at 22 or 21 years old, went to go work for a nonprofit in Seattle, downtown,
Mm-hmm.
that tries to get homeless alcoholics off the street, homeless addicts off the street. Her first job for the first 6 months was the resident night counselor, which means she had to deal with all the, people filing in and out after, evenings of drinking and, carousing. She said every night, just about every night, they had to call the police at least once. Some people were good, some people were angry, some people were drunk, some people were shooting up, every 2 weeks, somebody would die in the facility. And she would have to go in and clean up their room and take care of their assets. Well, eventually, after 6 months, she became a day service counselor. So she helped arrange the financial services, medical services, whatever appointments, for these people. And now she just got another appointment where she's got 6 of these counselors, each handling 30 clients working for her. And she's only 25 or 26. So she's got people older than her because she's got a psychology degree and, she cares about people. And she's very articulate and she's very organized with a great attention to detail. And she really cares about this thing. So anyway, that really impresses me because she's on the front lines. I'm talking abstract. I'm trying to think, how do we do things systemically? She's actually on the ground. She's actually helping people day to day in real life, face to face, eyeball to eyeball. So at some point, either, what Brett is doing maps or possibly complements, what DESC, the organization, is doing, or some of the stuff that we're doing, potentially interested in, could overlap there as well. So I keep her apprised every once in a while of what I'm trying to do and the kind of people I like to talk to. And I've steered people her way too. People have said, "Oh yeah, put me in touch with her. I'll donate this. I'll donate that. I'll donate a car." Blah blah blah. So.
Well, it's like, what I was going to say about that was that, I often say that let's call it World One, which is the capitalist current market economy. People do that, they play that game. When they get really injured, damaged by it, they end up in World Two, which is made up of people, the counselors, the support, the nurses, the staff, the psychologists, the psychiatrists, social workers, patched him up, get it back into World 1. And it's like, what's World 3, where we'd the people who were in both of that move to a different way and say, right, we don't play those games anymore. Because World 2 and World 1 cannot survive without each other. So your daughter and her work needs the capitalist economy in order for her to be paid to do what she's doing. As soon as that stops, it's game over. So a previous colleague of mine who gave senior talks, keynote speeches at the National Health Service conferences in Scotland, said to this assortment of doctors and nurses, hello, what's the purpose of this service? Is it to provide free healthcare for everybody? Or is it to promote a healthier Scotland where everyone takes responsibility for his or her own health? If the latter is the case, we don't need you as much. And many of you will be out of a job. So half the people will go, fantastic, totally agree. Half of them hate him and say, get rid of this guy, he's dangerous. So it's this paradox where we all want that world, but in order to get the world that we want, we're going to have to sacrifice a lot of stuff. That's a sacrifice a lot of people will not make.
But it's going to happen over 1 or 2 generations. It's not going to be
Yeah,
instantaneous.
I mean, I've got a friend, and he's a friend because his heart's in the right place and he cares, and but he's completely programmed to the I need my 200,000 corporate job in order to maintain my lifestyle, because I value being able to go on holiday anywhere, my second home, skiing every winter. I value my car and my stuff that way more than actually having time to do what I really care about and want to do. So he's willing to engage and live and very unhappy and miserable, hardly seeing his wife or kids because he values the other bit. And that will keep going until he has a crisis, until he loses his job. So that, as you say, there's nothing I can say to him that will persuade him.
Yep.
There's no logic.
Right? So he's proven successful.
His logic is when I do that and that and that, this is what happens. Therefore, I'll continue that logic because it works for me. Even when he sees and feels that it doesn't work, and he knows that some part of him is not working, but they will defend it until the death. He will defend that way of life. So I am a threat to many people. That's why a lot of people get him away from me, because he's a mirror saying, I'm not living the life I want to live. So I will basically keep him there, and he's just a form of entertainment. He's like, I will consume everything he says and enjoy it. I go, this is great, thumbs up, love it, great. I need your help to do this. No, it's all right. You know?
So can I ask you a possibly question that you can choose not to answer?
Sure.
Okay. I forget when, but I saw an interaction, very brief, with you and Fleming one time on the global communication challenges or experiments, conversation experiments one time, where I think you had offered to help out with administration or moderation of conversational experiments. And Fleming, I thought, was rather clear that that didn't seem to be what he wanted. So I didn't understand that. Do you remember the incident?
Well, Fleming and I are very clear with each other now, because basically I knew Fleming from a long time ago, not as long as many others, of course. But
I don't know him very well, by the way.
Early 2000s, I was aware of him the first time when he had the New Civilization Network. Mm-hmm. And then basically I got back in touch with him again in 2016. We connected. He shared his thoughts about conversation, about dialogue, and I said, do it. Let's start next week. So we did. And he will accredit me eventually. You know, he does. He says, yeah, you initiated me to do it. You pushed me to do it, which is what I'm very good at. He started it. We did a few, and he's consistent. He's a metronome. That guy can just, you know, he earns his money doing certain things. You know, I know what he earns his money doing. I know how he earns his money. I know where, you know, anyway, that's a different story. That's up to him. But basically, he says to me, I cannot trust you in groups. I trust you one-to-one. He will happily talk to me in one-to-ones occasionally, and he says, keep giving me a prod to keep moving and keep doing what I should be doing, because he's not chipping in. He talks a lot, he shares a lot of stuff, but collaboration and work together, Now, he's got to be the boss. So I've said that to him, and I've told him that, and I'm saying, I'm here, I will support. And he's very supportive of me, but we're very clear with each other. I support you doing what you do, but groups, no chance. So at least I know that.
Yeah. Thanks for clearing that up. That was kind of curious to me.
Yeah.
You did ask, what it is that we're talking about, and I was curious about one, the anger issue, and two, the people disappearing when they disagree issue, because that to me are two of the really key issues that are severe blocks to
Yeah.
groups and conversations. And the way I see it, let me just finish with two thoughts and then I'll get off here, is even when I was a few months into these GCC conversations, I was trying to say, okay, so what's next? What do we do here? What do we do there? Can we make this agreement? Blah, blah, blah. And for some, these conversations are purely social. It's kind of like, here's my Saturday morning, here's my Sunday morning. I don't go to church, I go to GCC conversations. Some people actually take it that way, because they like hanging out with smart people. So I felt that I wanted to propose a few things, at least what I'm doing, and try and get some people interested. And that got some people to use the word uncomfortable. I am uncomfortable for some reason. And I thought, okay, fine. Is that something that's going to hold you back, or is that something you want to lean into? Because to me, discomfort is not a big deal. And that, are you okay?
Yeah, it's great. No, Captain here offering me some more grog.
Ah,
Shipmate here has to
I
get
got
himself
water.
prepared.
I got.
You've got water. Okay, very nice.
So anyway,
Yeah.
that I think has derailed us for 2 years. Hey, good to see you. So
I mean, if you
that was,
ever, yeah, on you go. Go on. Yes, yeah. Derail. So that the base that you're saying, just to
yes.
share back what I think you said,
Mm-hmm.
is that for many people, committing to something or some kind of action made people uncomfortable, and then they left rather than saying, actually lean into that because that's where the gold is.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
So that's point
okay.
number one. Point number two is if I even follow up on that, people get triggered and say, "Why are you asking me to do something uncomfortable?" Or they say, "Well, I don't like this word agreement," or "I don't like the word, right." They don't want to write things down, for example. So I find it curious that rather than trying to come to a common understanding, they disengage. You know. So
Yeah,
for me, one of the core themes at GCC and collaborology is how do we disagree well? How do we disagree and lean in, okay, and try to figure out, what is it that we disagree about, and is that something that we can actually co-create something better out of, or is that just going to push us apart? Because if disagreements push us apart, we have no excuse, not to go to war. Okay, war,
exactly.
the eventual disagreement, carried to an extreme.
Exactly.
If
I
we
am right,
want
you're
to
wrong.
eliminate war, we got to learn how to disagree better.
Yeah, I mean, if Brett was on this call, he would say there's, triggers where the gold is, that he's very much a part of that. And, he was, bless him, he and I reconnected a year ago, 2 years ago, when I really attacked his project. And he and his partner said, great, you're clearly not explaining it correctly because you've raised some issues which other people have said. And it becomes this, and I've had this issue with my former mentor for 15 years. We came across this again and again. The agreement is that we go in a certain direction. Not that we know any better how to behave or act as we're moving towards that direction, but we're going to go that way. So many people are saying, no, we have the whole thing worked out. And I think I said one of my points in your smart people problems is if we are to follow that rationale, that means like 75 million people have to in 1 week change and behave the same way that you imagine that they'll do it. It's not what happens in reality. Nature is constant experiment. Try this, try that. That works. The same thing won't work next week. So very few people can actually function like that because they need stability, they need security, therefore they have to repeat the same things, manipulate, sell, advertise. Oh, now we're comfortable. I really like comfort. Who doesn't like being comfortable? I mean, However, as you say, uncomfortable is where that's your edge. And if you live on that edge, you will constantly grow. It never ends. This is where I live my life the past 20 years. And it's frightening for most people. So my sister's the opposite. She wants comfort and safety, and that's her value. Okay, therefore me coming in, get him away from me. And in fact, I will do my best to lock you down. I will shut you down. In society, the artist fights for status quo. That's what the artist's job is, to be. In fact, the artist's role, I think, is to kill him or herself. You know, I'm going to crucify myself on your behalf because you will not take on your own crap, and I've got to do it for you, processing it all. So actually, I think it was the third conversation experiment. The first one was about money. The second one was about, the first one was called Flip the Script. I remember it was me, Fleming, and a guy called Eddie, who basically lives with no money. And he was starting that project then. Great guy, Dutch guy. So three of us. And then the second one was about agreement. We're going to agree on one thing after 1 hour. And the third one was about disagreeing with everything. And that was far more fun. Heiner should remember it because I said to Heiner, we don't have to eat, humans don't have to eat food. It's a lie. Well, I think I disagree with that, you know. We all went on. And the disagreement really is where you get exposed, you know. So the battle I'm in with this guy in the States is exposing his values. And he's now sort of addicted to this conversation because I can feel that he wants to win. He wants to beat me. He wants to say your way of life and what you're doing is wrong according to me. And I was saying, well, are you open to that? If he's not open to it, that's the end of it. He's open to looking at himself. Are you aware that might mean that you have to leave your wife and your kids? Because in your heart, you know, actually that's what you want. You want to do something else, but you don't have the guts. Therefore, you're attracted to me because I watch him all the time and I can feel I can live vicariously through him without doing it myself. And that's so common. Therefore, trying to collaborate with people who are employed is, for someone who's self-employed or freer, you can't do it. I've learned that. So finding it.
I am employed.
Okay, but you're working for yourself, or are you working for?
No, I work for a software company in California.
Okay.
I may have given the impression that I'm not employed, but you know, I'm actually employed.
Well, yeah. So but you're certainly self-employed in your own thinking and doing these things. So I think it's, it requires time, it requires energy. I mean, for example, Tammy and I in 2016 spent 3 months, almost 6 hours a day, trying to align to do a crowdfunding together for media and new media. Couldn't do it. It was, it was tough, but we learned a lot. But for her, she wanted me to write every single thing down and to look at every single recording, which would take another 3 hours a day to then read it and write back. Tammy, no, it's not how I live my life. So in order to work with her at that time, I'm not saying she does that now, but at that, because she's very close to Harry and doing lots of different things. So when I was at that time, I cannot commit to living like that. Therefore, we cannot collaborate if you want me to do that. I'm much more, you meet, you say what's happening now, what wants to happen next. You agree, okay, so we're doing this weekly thing. I can commit to that. If I can't make it, I'm very clear I can't make it because of that, but there's a commitment to the idea, and I do that consistently. But a lot of people can't even do that. And so it becomes, and then, like any project, you're doing a software project, you've got deliverables, milestones, roadmap, what we're doing, how do we adapt, we shift, we're constantly pivoting, it's agile, scrum engine, all of that. Anyone who works in programming knows that. And it's the same thing with relationships. It's like, hey, we meet next week, we sit down, we say, are we in the same, oh, we're not. Okay, so do we part? Do we meet again in the future? But we're open to it.
Yep.
So I'm, and it's interesting. I mean, the main thing for me, which is interesting, is I'm now learning when I've found land to buy in Andros. The guy who's selling it to me is a friend. Great. New friend. I'm his niece's partner. It's owned by his dad. Beautiful. He's had it for a long time. It's in a very remote part of the island. It's completely deserted. apart from a few sheep. The land is not being worked. It needs worked, otherwise it would desertify. So I'm doing a great thing. I'm going to build a centre, support local economy, bring people there, help with the Greeks, do all this. I'm doing all of this stuff and trying to get people to support it. I've had one major donor because he's my friend and he will always, because he's got plenty of money, he will give it. But for others, it takes, it's as if I feel sometimes, and I wrote about it today, I posted, I feel as if I'm a character in a movie for most people. They don't really think I actually exist. And so I'm just mainly entertainment for most people. And I'm fine with that. I say, okay, it's now pay-per-view. You can watch me and how I live my life, but you're going to pay €5 a month for it. Then I can do my work and I can be free to do it. If just 200 people pay €5 a month, I can show you, this is how I live. And if you want to live like that, you can't read it or watch it. You have to come and sit and live it with me and say that we're going that way. That's the only way you're going to learn. So the only way I'll really know Sam is by living with you. And just seeing, how does this guy walk in the morning? How does he get up? How does he brush his teeth? How does he deal with, what's Sam look like when he's angry? I think I can pretty much guess. I've seen people see me angry because I'm angry a lot on camera. Fuck! So, and also crying. I've done all that. So when you expose yourself, people love to see it and watch it, but then to actually really engage with you, that's a different thing.
I don't know if it maps directly, but one of the smart people problems I'm about to write down is one of these aphorisms that go, no matter how smart you are, I don't care what you know unless I know how much you care. So that meeting
how much I care about, so for example, how much you care about what?
Almost anything, okay?
Anything, okay.
Yeah. So in other words, I don't care if you're a smart person. I want to know first that you're a caring person.
Yeah.
If you're not a caring person,
okay. Yeah.
that smartness will get you and possibly me in trouble if you don't care.
Yeah, exactly. So I get now this annoyance that people are saying, I care more about this guy than my son. He's with me on his voyage. He's a sort of proxy for my son. If he doesn't care enough about his son to be there, I don't care what he says. Yeah. Whereas there's a guy who's a rabbi who I met at the end of January was, the strongest thing you can do is to live your own life and just drop all the stories about society and who you should be. And if you're following your heart, it's fine. So for me, my son is with his mother, best person to be with, and his grandmother. He's well looked after. He's a very nice place. He's comfortable. He's only 6 years old. I've got the next 50 years of my life with him. I will have more time with him in the future. I'm setting up the foundations for his future to come, and he wants to help me build the house. Great. Build the house, build the structure, build the center. He's going to learn. He's going to meet people. It's great for him, But so we're saying a lot of things here. We're sharing. This is good. We're getting to know each other more. I don't really know if we have an objective as such. And for me, it's just getting to know you, sharing more, answering these questions that maybe make us uncomfortable, exploring those things, because that's where I think you learn about people,
yep.
where they are triggered. So I'm triggered around my son. I'm triggered around my family, my parents, people who abuse and be violent towards me verbally because they don't actually pay attention to what I'm saying or even want to know what I'm saying. They just don't listen. And yeah, it's all learning. It's all, I will get to where I'm going because I've got a very clear purpose and it's shared and stated.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So just curious, since at the top of the hour, I do have the other GCC call, which I host. So I just want to make sure we are continuing these conversations on a week-by-week basis. And then
I think what I'll say on that note is that we're supposed to leave here on Thursday. And once we start sailing, I have no idea.
I'm flexible.
we have no idea.
We have to skip a Sunday, not a problem. I slept through a Sunday, so
Yeah, that's all right. That's all right. Yeah.
Okay.
Algorithms, note that down. I would say, from where we are now to where I'll be getting off in Lyon, that should be 3 weeks, 4 weeks.
Okay.
So wherever we are, we will have.
Or you'll be able to send notes.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. let's be flexible.
Yeah, be flexible. Okay, say hi to everybody else. I'm now going to go for a walk. Or Michael might teach me to do some notes.
Yeah, by the way, I did take a number of notes about Brett's interests and background. So whenever he
Okay.
decides to join, or if you and I
And
want
I should really, this is where I'm really bad at it. Could you donate to that project?
I make a policy that almost anything anybody asks, I'll do, $5. Okay, just to start, just to
Okay,
get going. Okay,
perfect. If
and
you
then
can
I
do
have to just
$5
find
and share it, that would be wonderful.
Okay, that's all. Because it's easy. There's no excuse not to do $5 with my network. Anybody in my network. But then beyond that, I have to look more, and figure out what
And
I'm
I
doing.
think I like the $5 thing. I had a policy. I'll make this very quick. When I was in England raising money for an art exhibition artist group, I just asked everybody for £1 that I met. People in the street, people will happily give you £1 just to get rid of you. But but then more people hear about it.
Yeah,
If one guy just gives 50 grand,
right.
that's it. But if
There's
every
nothing
single
anyone needs
person,
to do. Right.
yeah, exactly. All right. Cheers, Sam.
All right, Graham. Have a good trip.
Enjoy your call. Bye.
Talk to you later. Bye bye.